Good day, NSC candidates. By now, you have done paper one. You have finished writing paper one, and I hope that it went well. May the preparation you put in for paper one, I hope that it paid off, and I hope that it motivates you to do better or just do the same in paper two's preparation for Monday. Right. So this session today will focus on paper two preparation. Once again, just a disclaimer. This is not everything you need to know. This is just an example of each topic that can remind you of what you need to know, and then you can do further studies or further preparations with past papers and all the other notes your teacher gave you. So for today's session, it is important to have with you the package that I set up for you guys, along with your calculator and obviously your pen. But now, for paper two, I think more importantly, we will be needing a ruler. Now, do you see the ruler that I have here? My centimeters is still very nice. And then also my millimeter indicators is also still very neat. Um, if you have a neat ruler like this, especially when it is a bit see-through, excuse me, I think you will benefit from this. I hope that you have that same ruler here today so that we can go with that and measure a few things, because remember, paper two is all about the measurements. Right. Now, with paper two, there's also been sent from Mr. Snyder's side study guides for you. There's a study guide for measurement that goes through a few very nice terminologies and examples. Right. And then there's another study guide that's also needed, and this is the one for maps, scales, and plans. Right. So there's two study guides, and we'll refer to that while we are busy with this preparation package. Right. So if you are ready, we can now start. So again, just for clarity's sake, paper two is again 150 marks, again 3 hours, but we'll be writing that on Monday. Okay, so question one will again be only level one questions, that easy questions. You will just be able to do that questions because it is so easy. It's all classified level one, and this is where we pass our paper. Okay, so question two will be on maps and plans, only maps and plans. Question three will only be on measurement, and then question four and five will be an integration of maps and plans and measurement, etc. And remember, as what was in paper one with probability, probability will again be incorporated within paper two. Um, so it won't have its section like on its own. Right. And then again, basic concepts. You need to know how to work with percentages, same as in paper one, ratios, rates, rounding, number formatting, large numbers like millions and billions. And then formulas, very, very important formulas for paper two. And then again, your calculator skill. So I hope the calculator that you've used for paper one, you have with you now to prep yourself for paper two, and again be using that same calculator for paper two's writing. Okay, so let's start with a nice warm up. So the warm up will be on measurements, that will be on conversions for metric and imperial, time and weight and mass. Okay, so let's have a look at that. First things first is I'm quickly going to refer to Mr. Snyder's package here, because I see they're asking me here to convert the unit or this to the unit within brackets. Right. So I don't know what you use, but again, when you use a certain method or when you were taught a certain method, please keep with that method, because I'm going to keep with a method that I am comfortable with. Okay, and the one that I'm comfortable with is the one in this case with I call it the Volkies. But this is again what Mr. Snyder's also gave us here. Now, just for a tip, when you start writing your paper, you have that time where you have the 10 minutes reading time. You're not allowed to touch a pen, okay? But when it comes to the time where they say, okay, candidates, you may now start, I would go and open my page or my script to a blank page and just firstly draw this so that I can quickly just refer back to this every time, and I do not need to draw the Volky every single time. See, there's the hour, minute, and seconds Volky as well. So I'll keep referring to this and we can just keep this on the side. Right. So let's start with the first question. Here they say we need to convert 15 kilometers to millimeters. Now, here we have the Volky, and I need to go from kilometers to millimeters. So from kilometers to millimeters, do you see in which way the arrow is going? So I will say from 15 kilometers, I will then multiply by 1,000, multiply by 100, multiply by 10. So I'm writing it down, multiply by 1,000, multiplying by 100, multiplying by 10. I know many of you, you have that method where you just multiply by a million, and that's also fine because you will see our answers comes to the same, and that will be 15 million millimeters. So when you calculate things like this, it is important to show your method and then also end off with the correct unit. Concentrate on that now because that will become a habit and you will then easily just do that on Monday. Right. Going again to 1.1.2, 6 gram to tons. Now I'm searching for where's the units for weight. Here we go. And I just write here 6 grams and we are going to tons. 6 grams to tons. We are dividing by 1,000 and dividing by 1,000 again. Dividing by 1,000 and dividing by 1,000 again. My answer comes to 0,000006 tons. Again, I'm showing my calculations and I'm showing my unit. Now we have 4 liters to milliliters. So from 4 liters to milliliters, let's write 4 liters. And from liters going to milliliters, that will be multiplied by 1,000. Multiplying by 1,000, that gets me to 4,000 milliliters. See again, my calculations and my answer with the unit. Now let's go to 1.1.4 where 5 hours we need to convert to seconds. So from 4 hours to seconds, just searching here for the correct Volky to use. So I'll write here 5 hours. And how do we go to seconds? We say multiply by 60, multiply by 60. And with that, our answer comes to 18,000 seconds. And there we go. As easy as that. Let's go to some more conversions. Now, this conversions, the ones that we need to know from the top of our head, no tips, no tricks, no nothing. We need to know this by ourselves. We call this metric conversions because metric meaning like meter, centimeter, kilometer, all the things that is known to us, even kilograms and liters and milliliters. That's the metric system. We are working with the metric system. When we are referring to these, where we are working with inches and pounds and ounces and feet, this is what we call the imperial version, okay? The imperial conversion. So please refer to that. And now let's see if we can do a few of these examples. Right, so again, they are asking me to choose from these conversion rates to go from 16 centimeters to inches, and we need to know to round to one decimal place. Okay, So let's see. I need centimeters and I need inches. So do I use the first one? Most definitely. It has inches and centimeters within that. So what do I do now? I write, and now again, people, you may use any method now. As long as you show me the method, that is quite fine with me. Um, the important thing is to show your calculations. So I'm going to use one method, but you are more than welcome to use another method. I'll try to switch up some methods without confusing you. Okay. So the first thing is I will write 1 centimeter equals to 0,394 inches. And I'll say, okay, I have 16 centimeters. Does it fit under the 1 or under the 0? Most definitely under the 1. Why? Because it has centimeters there. And this side, I need the inches, so I'll write an X under that. And now we cross multiply. 16 multiplied by 0,394, that gets me to 6,304. And X multiplied by 1 is 1X. So I'll be just dividing by 1, and X will then be 6,304 inches. Again, remembering the rounding off. So when I round off, then I will round off to 1 decimal place. And 1 decimal place is that one there. Drawing a line, looking at that one. That one is a 0. So it will be 6,3 inches. And there we go. Just like that. Easy, hey? Let's do another one. Another one tells me 50 grams to ounces. Okay, 15 grams to ounces. Do I use this one? No. Do I use this one? No, because it's kilograms and pounds. Do I use this one? This one doesn't fit quite right, eh? Because it is kilograms and ounces and not grams and ounces. This one is meter and feet. So there's not one that fits 100%, but there's one that almost fits, right? So that is that one. So I will show you what to do now. Writing 1 kilogram equals 35,274 ounces. And now I know what to do with this 50 gram to make it fit under the kilograms, right? So what do? I do the following. Let me just see where that tip is. So from grams to kilograms, I will be dividing by 1,000. So dividing 50 grams by 1,000, that will get me to 0,05 kilograms. So remember 50 grams and 0,05 kilograms, same thing. I just needed the units to be exactly the same. And this side I put an X. Now I can try to use another method. I know many people do this. They say to this side we divide and to this side we multiply, just like Mr. Snyder showed us here within this example. So there's many ways to do this, but I ask you again very nicely, do not change up your methods now. It's now too late. You are at the end. Keep with the methods and just do what you need to do. Okay? So in our calculators, we will put 0,05 divided by 1, multiply by 35,27403, and that will get me to an answer of 1,7637 ounces. And there we go. There's my answer. So there's one cross multiply method. There's this one. And then I can maybe do another one just for the sake of it. But again, please keep with a method that you like. I like this method very much. So when I do the calculations on my own, I would rather do this one. But you keep with the one that you were taught and used and practiced with this whole year. Okay. So let's look at 1.2.3. They tell me 47 feet to meter. Round to the nearest whole number. Okay, let's go and have a look for feet and meter. Feet and meter? No. Feet and meter? No. Feet and meter? No. Feet and meter? Yes. So we use this one. I will write it down and say 1 meter equals to 3,280,084 feet. And now we say the 47 feet. Does it fit under the 1 or under the 3? Most definitely under the 3, 47 feet, because the units is the same. And to this side, I put an X. And now I can say, excuse me, so I could have just said, oh, okay, I see it is a divide sum. So for a divide sum, I could just as well said 47 divide by 3,280084. When I get to the answer, 14,3289, and that will be the amount of meters. But again, referring back to round to the nearest whole number, going to that and looking at this 3 reminds me that that 14 should stay the same. So I'll just say 14 meters. Just like that. Okay, right. Let's do another one. And I'm now going back to my original roots and I'm keeping with the cross multiplication because that just makes life easier for me. So I'm encouraging you, when you are working with me with this video, please do your method. I'll do my method and then we can just, at the end, just check our answers. Okay. Right. So 120 pounds to tons. I'm looking for pounds to tons. No. Pounds to tons. Almost there. Pounds to tons? No. Pounds to tons? No. Okay, so there's not one that is 100%, but there's one that is almost there. So I'll rather use that one. 1 kilogram equals 2,205 pounds. And also, okay, I have 120 pounds. It fits here because the units is the same, and I need to get that answer. X multiplied by 2,205. That gets me to 2,205x, and 120 multiplied by 1 is 120. I divide this by 2,205. My answer comes out as 54,42176 kilograms. But now the thing is, I don't want the answer in kilograms, I want the answer in tons. But again, you can do this part on your own because you know that from kilograms to tons, it will be divided by 1,000. Dividing by 1,000, that gets me to 0,054 tons. And there we go. Now, no rounding rules here, so I just leave it as is. You can even just write 0,05 tons. That will be fair enough. Okay, good. Okay, so that was imperial conversions for you. Let's have a look at some of the temperature units. Going to some temperature units. Let's have a look at that. I'm quickly going to switch some color pen so it can be easy on your eyes. Right. Using the following formula to help you convert the temperature. I have a formula here and I have a formula there. Now, these two look quite different, even though they do different work, but you get a set of formulas that has fractions and you get a set of formula that doesn't have fractions. But the thing here is I want you to remember you don't need to know the formula for converting temperatures out of your head. They will always give it to you. The only thing you need to do is you need to know which one to choose and you need to know how it works. So that is why I chose both of the types of formulas. Then we can have a practice with one of each. Right. So let's start with that. They are telling me use the following formula to help you convert the temperatures. Convert 32 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. So am I choosing formula 1 or am I choosing formula 2? I will be choosing formula 1. Why? Because I need the answer in Fahrenheit. And this sum gives me the answer in Fahrenheit. Do you see how I choose it? So I need the answer in Fahrenheit. The sum's answer is in Fahrenheit. The sum's answer is in degrees Celsius. So that is why I'll choose formula 1. Writing down the formula for choosing the correct formula will get me a mark sometimes. And now for substituting the formula will definitely get me a mark. So I will substitute the degrees Celsius with 32, multiply by 9 over 5, closing my brackets, plus 32. And now I take my calculator, and with me, please take your calculator and make sure. Let me just put off this light so it doesn't reflect there. Okay, so with your calculator, please work with me and see if we can punch this in together. So 32 plus 9 over 5, closing my brackets, add with 32. I press everything once, okay? And then I get to my answer, and the answer there is 65, comma, let's just see there, 65,8. 32. Oh no, I made a terrible mistake. What is my mistake there? Yes, I didn't multiply. So let's do that again. 32 multiply by 9 over 5. Close my, see, close my brackets, add with 32. There we go. The answer is 89.6. Okay, so see how easily a mistake can happen. Please concentrate when you're working and double check how you punch it in with what you have written there. So the answer now is 89,6 degrees Fahrenheit. Just like that. Okay, let's try the next one. Now they're asking me to convert 420 degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius, and extra rounding to the nearest 10. So am I choosing Formula 1 or Formula 2? Most definitely Formula 2. Why? Because I need the answer in degrees Celsius, and look at this. The answer is in degrees Celsius. Writing down my formula. Substituting the 420 in the place of the degrees Fahrenheit symbol. And now again, let's take our calculators and we press very carefully bracket 420 minus 32, close your bracket, divide by 1.8. My answer, 215,5556. Now, they said I must round to the nearest 10. So this is your ones, this is your tens, this is your hundreds. So I need to focus on that one there. Does that one lie closer to 210 or 220? Because of that 5 there, yes, it lies closer to 220 degrees Celsius. And there you go. As easy as that. Okay. So again, when we are doing any sum, it doesn't matter if it's in the first question or in the fifth question, and it doesn't matter what the amount, the marks counts there. Please make sure that you go back to the question and make sure you have rounded, you have left it in the unit that they expect you to do. Okay, let's do some time calculations. Going to some time calculations. They are asking me, Mr. Soetmelk's wife makes home-baked whole grain biscuits for her family. Each batch of biscuits should bake for 55 minutes. The last batch was taken out of the oven as shown on the clock that is indicated below. Right, they are asking you to convert the 55 minutes to hours. Now, where's that tip that Mr. Snyders gave me? Here we go. The hours, minutes, seconds. So he is asking me, or the question is asking me, 55 minutes, converting it to hours, from minutes to hours, going to divide by 60. Dividing by 60. So I just say 55 divided by 60. That gets me to 0,917 hours. And I just leave it as is. Right. 1.4.2 asks me, write the time format that is indicated on the clock. Now, before we go to this time format, we have mainly 3 time formats. Quickly mention them to me. We have a analog time, we have 12-hour time, and we have 24-hour digital time, right? So this is the three, and you need to know how it works or how it differs from each other. So the analog time is the analog, let's say analog and arm, because analog and arm both starts with an A, and this has arms, so this is analog time. Now, just right here, 12 hours, the analog 12-hour time, that is the one with the AM and PM at the end of the time. And then the 24-hour time, you know that is that big numbers that counts up until 24. So just have a look at, you have three time formats, an analog time, a 12-hour time, and a 24-hour digital time. Right. 1.4.3. Write the time on the clock indicated in 12-hour format if it is in the early hours of the morning. So what is the time indicated there? It is 4:30 in the morning, right? 4:30 in the morning. So it's halfway to 5 o'clock in the morning. So how would I write that? So it was 4 o'clock already. It is 30 minutes past 4. And now, because it's 12-hour time, I need to remember my AM and my PM. So what will I be writing here? AM or PM? It is early morning of, it's the early hours of the morning. So that will then be AM. Right. Okay. So there is your calculations with some time. Let's have a look at some weight and some BMI calculations. So now we're picking up the pace a bit, and we are starting to get to the more difficult type of, not difficult, but more complicated questions. Right. Mr. Masenya gave birth, oh, sorry, Mrs. Masenya gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. She monitored their weight over the first 6 months and summarized it as shown in the table below. Right. So here I can see the boy at birth, he was 3.6 kilograms, and the girl was 3.2 kilograms. And here for each month, she has written down or summarized their weight. So now here we have a weight status table, and here we have a percentile or a growth chart. Let's have a look at 2.1.1. They are asking me, determine which percentile the baby boy lie at the age of 6 months. So when we are looking at percentiles, that is this waves that is happening here. And there is the 97th percentile, 95th, 90th, 75th, 50th, 25th, 10th, the 5th, and the 3rd percentile. So there is every wave we call a percentile. Now they want us to know on what percentile does the boy lie. Now, to get basically to a percentile, we need two things to match up. We need the age in months, and we need the body weight. So we actually have the age in months here. We have the 6 month. So meaning we'll look at this part here going up. Okay. So what do I need now? I need the body weight. And where will I get that? Most definitely in the table. Looking at 6 months, looking at the boy, and I see he weighed 8 kilograms on the on his 6-month visit to the clinic. So there is 8 kilograms, and then reading there where the two lines connect. So I normally take a ruler and I draw the line up until I can see where it meets, because it makes it just easier for me. But again, it's my style. I don't know how you have done, and if you don't have a style yet, then you're more than welcome to take this. So where these two lines meet, it most definitely meets at the 50th percentile. So let's write 50th percentile. And there we go. As easy as that, just reading it off. 2.1.2, write whether the following statement is true or is false. And if it is false, correct the statement. When the baby boy was 3 months old, only 10% of other baby boys were heavier than him. Right, I'm going to work with another color just to differentiate better. So again, we are looking at 3 months, and they say that he lies on a percentile that tells me only 10% of baby boys his age is heavier than him. So let's have a look at the information again. When he was 3 months old, he weighed 6.4 kilograms. So let's have a look on what percentage he lies, or what percentile he lies. So 3 months is there, reading it up, and 6.4 will be there. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to do this, just drawing it up, and there's 6, and just above 6, there it lies. So that's quite low, don't you think? Yeah, but that's not. Yeah, I'm not going to take it in the middle because that one there is quite high, isn't it? Okay, so I'll rather go to that one there, and that one there is 6.4. So where does it meet? Again, it lies on the 50th percentile. So tell me, do you think the statement made is true? So I'll just help you here. We say the statement is false. Why? Because he lies on the 50th percentile. And what does that mean? That means only 50% of baby boys his age is heavier than him. Right. So let's quickly discuss this. When they say 10% of baby boys is heavier than him, it meant that he should lie on the 90th percentile. So what does a percentile actually mean? A percentile actually means that when we go to the when we read off and we say, let's say he lies on the 90th percentile, what does it mean? It means 90% of boys his age has the same weight as him. But what remains, so a percentage is actually equal to 100, right? So what remains from the 90? A 10. So that is why we say 10% of boys, that is what remains above. So 10% of boys is heavier than him. So let's take another example. Let's say he lies on the 60th percentile. That means that 60% of boys his age is the same weight as he is. And 40% of boys is heavier than he is at his age. Okay, so does it make sense to you? So that the 10% can't be correct because he lies on the 50th percentile, meaning that 50% of boys is heavier than he is. Right. Continuing onwards with some BMI, let's look at some more BMI. So again, quickly, what does BMI stand for? Body Mass Index. Right. So now they are asking me, determine the weight status of a baby girl at the age of 4 months and a length of 54.3 centimeters. Okay, so meaning that she is 4 months old, she has a length of 54.3 centimeters, and I can use the following formula. So let's start. BMI equals asking me the weight in kilograms. Do they even give me the weight here? No, they don't. So where will I possibly get the weight? I will go to the table, and at 4 months, the baby girl will be 6.4 kilograms. So I can only put in the top part if it is in kilograms. So yes, it is in kilograms. So I'll put in 6,4. Now they are asking me for the length in meters, and I need to remember to put my 2 there. So is this length in meters? Not at all. I can't put this length here. It will not come out right. I need to convert my length to meters before I do that. And that is where you are using your Volkis from Mr. Snyder's package, or otherwise you are using your own method. And to convert the 54 centimeters to meters, we will only be dividing by 100. Dividing by 100 will get me to a 0,543 meters. So now I can write 0,543. And I remember to put my 2. Please don't forget to put your 2. Now we take our calculators and we put in 6.4 over 0.543. And please remember your 2. And if you put that in correctly, press your equal sign, we get an answer of 21,71. And that is your BMI. But that is not the weight status they are asking for. So where do I find the weight status? The weight status will be calculated here according to the BMI. So the BMI is 21, so that will lie between these two numbers, and your weight status will be a normal weight. So that will be a So for you to get your weight status, you will need to have to calculate the BMI first. 2.1.4. Now we are continuing with the BMI, but you will need to know this is the formula, and they will most of the time give you the formula. But sometimes we need to do reverse calculations, as very often happening in grade 12. But they won't give you the formula here. You will need to do it on your own. You will need to do, how do you say? To switch the formula to get the correct one. So for this, I've made a triangle as we have done with distance, time, and speed. So working with a triangle, we have kilograms, BMI, and we have the length. And you see I keep the 2 there. Okay, so that is how it works. So quickly look at this. So you can see I'm writing a honest triangle here. So there's the BMI. It gets me to the weight divided by the length. So if I close up BMI, I say kilograms divided by the length in meters. So see, that is the same as the formula there. Right. So this means to divide, and this part means to multiply. So let's have a look at this question. They are asking me, determine the height in centimeters of a baby girl at 6 months when she has a BMI of 19.25. Right. So I need to determine the height in centimeters. So to determine the height, I can close up that part, right? And to close up height, I can say kilograms divided by BMI. But this one is the only one that is a bit more tricky than this because of that small little 2 that is written there, because it's actually stating to say this equals to kilograms divided by BMI. Now, to get this to you, this is part of the formula, so you need to get this thing out of the way. And the only way I can explain it to you is in maths. When you need to get rid of this 2, you will need to do the opposite of that. And the opposite of that is this, your square root. And that is the only thing that will get rid of that. So that is the only thing you need to remember. So to get the length, you need to know to square root the kilograms divided by the BMI. Okay, so let's do this. They are asking for the kilograms, but it isn't there. So where will I find it? I will most definitely find it here. 6 months the baby girl will be 7.4 kilograms. So I say 7,4. I can put it in there because it is in kilograms. Dividing by the BMI is 19,25. And now please take your calculator with me and put in your square root and put in your 7.4 divided by 19.25 and press your equals, and your answer will come to something very weird, and it doesn't even look right. But why doesn't it look right? Because the answer is in meters. And do you think babies is measured in meters? No, because your aunt or they are asking you to give the answer in centimeters. Okay, so now how do I convert from meters to centimeters? Check your own notes, check Mr. Snyder's notes. How do I do that? I multiply by 100. Multiplying by 100 will lead me to a 62,00125679 centimeters. And now I can just round off, and rounding off this funny number will still get me to 62 centimeters. And there we go, as easy as that. Okay, so this looks better because they are asking me to convert it to centimeters. So that is why it looks better, because remember, it is the height of a baby. Yes, right. Okay, I hope you are fine and you are still with me. Let's go and level it up a bit more. Now, we are coming to a very favorite part of mine. We are coming to some calculations for perimeter, circumference, area, product cost, volume, outer surface area. Okay. Um, why am I reading this product cost? You are thinking, oh, but money belongs in paper one. Yeah, it does. But remember, when we are painting a wall and we are calculating the area that we need to paint, we still need to go and buy that paint. When we are tiling a floor, we are calculating the area of that floor, and we still need to go and buy the tiles for that floor. When we are calculating the volume of a swimming pool, we still need to buy the water to fill that swimming pool. So let's quickly go and have a look at Mr. Snyder's notes. Mr. Snyder's notes, let me just see where that notes is. Oh, here it is. The last 2 pages. Here is a wonderful tiling, painting, and of a planting of grass calculations to take you through some very nice examples also. Okay, so this is an extra example for you to work through to prepare yourself for paper 2. Okay, so we will also be doing some sums like this, and you are more than welcome to refer back to his notes also. Right, so get yourself ready. We will start now. Due to the increase in the size of his family, Mr. Masenya decided to purchase a bigger geyser. The family purchased a 200-liter geyser, twice the size of the old geyser. So the 200 geyser, this is the new geyser, and we are purchasing it as twice the size of the old geyser. So what is the size of the old geyser now? Most definitely a 100-liter geyser. So this is the old geyser. The new geyser is 200 liters, right? And we haven't even started with the sum, but see what are we doing here? Okay. A table showing the dimensions of standard horizontal round geysers is shown below. Right. So that is basically a cylindrical form. I'm going to take this. This is basically a cylindrical form. Okay. And so it's not put up vertically, but rather laying down. So this is how the geyser more or less will look in shape. Okay. Um, so we have a 50-liter geyser, and there is the dimensions. listen to the word I'm using, dimensions. Okay, so the dimensions is given as firstly the diameter, secondly the length. So for each, this is the order in which it is placed. Right, so there's a 50 liters up until a 250 liters. So 3.1.1 tells me write down the dimensions of the old geyser. Listen, the old geyser. So how big is the old geyser? It is 100 liters. So for 100 liters, the old geyser is 550 millimeters by 840 millimeters. So there we go. And that is your dimensions for the old geyser. Moving on to 3.1.2. Now they're starting with calculate the circumference of the base of the new geyser. You may use the following formula. So here they give me a wonderful formula. Now the formula here tells me circumference of a circle equals pi multiplied by the diameter. I also know of another formula. And if you know your formulas quite well, you can also use the other formula. But otherwise, we use the formula they give me, and that is fine. So for the circumference of a circle, we can also say 2 pi radius. So that does the same job. You can actually go and check this. But for the case of this, I'm going to use this formula because they are asking me to do it. But if you're using that formula, they will mark it. So it's fine. Okay, let's do that. So we say pi, which is 3,142 multiplied by the diameter. Remember, we are using the new geyser. So what's the new geyser's diameter? 1,470 millimeters. So, oh no, am I using the correct one? No, I'm using the length here, people. So what do I need to do? I need to go and use the diameter because the diameter is first and the length is second. So let's say 3,142 multiply by 550 millimeters. So calculating that or putting that into your calculator, please double check me. Do you get to the answer of 1,728,1 millimeters? Right. Okay. So that is the circumference of that geyser, the new geyser. Right. Taking this page to the side, let's see what the next question is. The next question tells me, Mr. Masenya claimed that the outer surface area of the new geyser is twice the size of the old geyser because the volume of the new geyser is 2 times bigger. Verify. I'm firstly focusing on these two words. When you see these two words, someone claimed something and you must verify it. You need to do two things, right? So the first thing is you need to do a sum. The second thing is you need to write a sentence for your marks. So 3 marks will go towards your sum and 1 mark will go towards your sentence. So do you know how many people I see that do wonderful sums and then they forget to write the sentence and then they get 0 or they lose the 1 mark. Okay, so please remember to write your sentence when it comes to a claim and a verify sum. Okay, so there is the formula. Now again, remember, working without the surface area, you don't need to stress and to need to remember that formula from the top of your head. You can always rely on them giving it to you. They must give it to you. Okay. So all you need to do now is just to actually go and fill it in. So, but before we do that, what is he actually asking me? He claims that when we are working out the surface area of the old geyser and we are working out the surface area of the new geyser, it will be twice as big because he says the volume inside the geyser is twice as big. So the outside will also be twice as big. And we need to confirm if he is stating the truth or not. So I'm going to divide my page into a old geyser and a new geyser. So let's start. For the outer surface area, and I remember I'm working with an old geyser now, I'm going to say equals bracket 2 multiply pi. Pi is 3,142. Multiply radius. What is the radius of the old geyser? The old geyser, there is the diameter. So how do I get the radius? The radius is half of that. So I say 550 divided by 2, that is 275. So the radius is 275. So let's say 275, and I please put the 2 there. I say close the brackets. I say plus. Brackets open. 2 multiplied by 3,142 multiply by radius 275 multiply by the length. What is the length of the old geyser? 840. So I put 840 there and I close the brackets. Do you see my formula looks exactly like when I've substituted? And this is quite important. You can't have the formula looking way differently when you are done substituting it. So only for substituting this, you will get a lot of marks. Okay. And now putting this into your calculator, please take the time to put it into your calculator and double check me. The answer here will be 1,926,831,5. Everything was in millimeters, and because it is outer surface area, my answer comes to squared millimeters. Right. Now let's do the new one. And you may pause the video now, let the learners do the new one, and then just play it afterwards so that they can then see if they have done it correctly. So again, starting with brackets 2 multiply by pi, which is 3,142, multiply by radius. And we are working with a new geyser now. So the new geyser's diameter is 550, but the radius is also 275. So I put 275. And I need to put my 2 there, please. Closing the brackets. Add 2. Bracket open. 2 multiplied by pi is 3,142 multiply by radius 275 multiply by the length. What is the length there? The length is 1,470 and I close my brackets. When I get that answer, it gets me to 3,015,534,5. Everything was in millimeters and it is squared millimeters. Now we need to state if it is true. He said that this is twice the size of that. So what can we do? We can just multiply this by 2 or we can divide this one by 2. It doesn't really matter. For now, I'm going to multiply this one by 2. So multiplying by 2 will get me to 3,853,663 squared meters. Millimeters, sorry, squared millimeters. Is it twice the size? No, this is still less. So we are saying, no, he is